Take a look at this. When I said 100-point effort, I'm not saying it should have been a 100 score. I mean the effort by Jody Newberry, a bull this strong, 100-point effort. That's just my opinion.
And so Jody Newberry, the reigning champion from the finals, is in the lead. This is the California.
In my mind, it felt like the pinnacle of what it is to be a cowboy. If you could ride bulls and do it well.
When he was riding, you know, it was an exciting time in our life. It was fun, it was kind of adventurous. There were ups and downs, sometimes were harder than others.
I enjoyed not having to punch a time clock, but there was always that pressure. If you don't win, if you don't perform well, you don't get a paycheck.
I met Jody and he was already in the PBR, he was already riding bulls, and you know, I mean, that was his career, it's what he knew, and that's what I knew of him.
I wanted everybody else to win second, I just wanted to win first. In fact of it is, I wasn't greedy. I didn't mind second place every now and then.
When they choose a dangerous career like that, you just have to pray God's grace and protection around them and try to be okay with it, you know? Not easy.
I always knew I wanted to ride bulls. Never really thought about making a living doing it. And it wasn't because I was going to rodeos and watching bull riding. I was going to cutting horse shows and team roping and listening to my dad tell stories of bull riding because he rode bulls when he was young as well. Not professionally, but just did, you know. But I was not exposed to bull riding much at all. I just always wanted to do it. And when I turned 15 years old, I started getting on bulls at a practice pen here in Ada, Oklahoma. Started entering junior rodeos and was winning. And every time I didn't have a job, I had money in my pocket because I was entering more bull ridings. And every time I had a job, I felt like I was, you know, a day late and a dollar short all the time.
I always said I was going to marry a bull rider. I was home from college one weekend and my mom made a comment and said, that new cowboy they've got on there is pretty cute. And I said, yeah, I know, I'm going to meet him and make him fall in love with me. And it happened to be Jody.
In the past few years, I hadn't been riding bulls much, just going what little bit I had to make a living because I didn't like leaving home, and finally decided I better make the best of it while I'm still young enough to do it. And so every chance I get, I bring my family with me so that while I'm here, I don't miss being home so bad, and I can stay focused and take care of business while I'm here.
2003 was my first year in the PBR, and I did win the Rookie of the Year. I won the average at the finals in 2003, which made me the World Finals champion. I walked out of there with a $265,000 paycheck. So that was probably the biggest thing I've ever won, but I've won 6 or 7 regular season events that you see on TV. You know, they have about 28 to 30 of those events a year.
As we go to Jody Newberry on Red Jacket, looking to the outside, trying to stay away from that centrifugal pull in Red Jacket. A bull that's been out 12 times this season, only 2 qualified rides, has Jody Newberry wincing a little in pain.
I've broke every bone in my body probably, most of them twice or so. Tore my groin muscle where it pulled 3 branches off of my femoral artery, and I nearly bled to death and died.
Anytime Jody's been injured, he's not always the easiest patient to deal with. He never really acts like he needs any help. He's like the tough guy.
He was the winner at the World Finals. He's the Rookie of the Year, and he's standing by with our Leah Garcia. Leah?
And that's actually the first time that Jody had a chance to look at his ride. Now that you see what it looked like, what does it feel like now from their perspective?
Well, it still feels good to make the whistle and be 90 points, but boy, I just watched that and it didn't look good at all. I need to get back in the middle of them things. It'd be a lot easier on me, I think.
We were in Sacramento, California, and I get on a bull there that I should have rode in my sleep. Nothing special about this bull. You know, he was a muley, didn't even have horns, you know, not that that matters. Very rarely are the horns what hurt you, but every one of them rascals have feet.
Newberry just a little bit out of position, and that's all it takes. And he just takes a solid shot with that hind hoof.
Yeah, just loses his inside foot, brings him down. And the bull, as he's coming down, just kind of a glancing blow, and
sobering reminder of how dangerous this sport can be.
I was here in Ada. I got a phone call from the pastor from the PBR, and he said, I don't want you to worry, but Jody has been injured and we're taking him to the hospital.
Here I get kicked in the head. The metabolic damage that was done to the brain with that one because of the compounded effects of one concussion to the next resulted in traumatic brain injury. I had a subarachnoid bleed, a hemorrhage in my brain, which basically means I should have been a vegetable.
In the meantime, like, this is all happening at 2 o'clock in the morning. We're a 2-hour time difference from California. I've called and woken everybody up and told them this is a situation. Jody's injured. Jody's twin brother calls me about 5 o'clock in the morning and he said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "Have you talked to your mom?" He said, "I haven't talked to anybody, but something's wrong with Jody."
My wife and my brother flew out there to Sacramento to get me. I was in that hospital for a few days. They had to sew my ear back on. It cut it off in the process of kicking me, but it completely changed the way I move and affected a lot of things. I have a difficult time with memory, converting short-term memory to long-term memory. A lot of it has not resolved, but gotten better. You never ever will completely heal up from a brain injury, but I'm pretty close to being as normal as I ever was. Not that I was ever normal.
I'm thinking, here we are in this situation, and I don't know that he'll ever be able to walk again, let alone ride bulls again. What's that gonna look like? Is he gonna be a dependent? Regardless of what that situation was gonna look like, it was gonna be okay, and it is. I talked to the doctors there. They had repeated Jody's scans 6 hours after they did the first scans that showed the bleeds, and miraculously they were gone. They don't know why, they don't know how, but he didn't have any subarachnoid or subdural bleeding anymore.
I started getting on bulls again after a few months. Still didn't feel good, but I was needing to make a paycheck, and so I went to enter in some amateur events thinking I got to get back at it. And I couldn't ride nothing. I mean, I couldn't ride a stick horse. And all of them was hooking me because I was just like a sack of potatoes out there. You know, I couldn't get up and get moving, get out of the way. And that's when I went to looking into, what am I going to do the rest of my life? How am I going to make a living? And then my wife, she said to me, "Why don't you be a physical therapist assistant?" You know, I never was interested in college. I was a high school dropout. She said it's a 2-year degree. It's an associate's degree. You'll graduate and leave there making, you know, anywhere from $50,000 to $60,000 a year. I thought, man, I can do anything for 2 years.
I'd sent him a text message and I said, exactly 1 year ago, you were in the hospital with this brain injury, and here you are working in your clinical rotations. And he sent me a text back and said, "Yeah, here I am still stuck in a dang hospital." I said, well, at least therapy, you know, the grass is greener on this side of the fence than it is the other. So instead of being the recipient, you're the giver. It's much better that way. So, but no, I love it. And I mean, I feel like he's really found his passion and his niche in what he's doing. And I think it's great.
Make it a little more difficult on you. You know, they pay me a lot of money to come around here and push on old folks. Ain't that a good job? First visit I have with a patient, I do a lot more talking than I do therapy. I tell a lot of people what I've gone through, especially when it relates to what they're going through. And it's not because I'm trying to say, you know, that I know more about it than they do, or, oh, it ain't that bad, I've had worse than that on my upper lip, never quit whistling. Not one of those kind of mentalities. I explain every exercise that I choose for that patient. I explain why I chose that exercise. The only way they're going to do it is because they feel like and they believe this is what's going to help me. This is what I need to do to be able to do X, Y, and Z, and they will do it then. My patients benefit from the fact that I was injured. When money gets tight, I think about all these amateur bull riders around this country that they're just giving money away. I mean, they just give it away. And I think about going and getting some of it, but so far I haven't.
I knew he was a bull rider when I married him, so I can't really fault him for that. At the end of the day, we support each other. That's what we do.
I'm still young enough to do it, so the potential's still there. And I know some bull riders that are 70-some years old, and they tell me, you're never going to quit thinking about it.
I think it's just something we still talk about. I don't think it's anything he's serious about because he hasn't called and entered anywhere yet, so I think we're still okay.